Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I am Monique Silas Lee, very proud principal of Dr. Charles D. Lunsford, school number 19. Welcome. Welcome to our Receivership public meeting. So, every school morning we get started with our vision. So I'm going to invite you to recite the vision with me. We usually use a call and response, so we're going to follow the same procedure. So, we are Lunsford strong.
We are Lunsford strong.
We are kind.
We are kind.
We are leaders.
We are leaders.
We are dedicated.
We are dedicated.
We persevere.
We persevere.
We will change the world.
We will change the world.
Awesome. And for those of you who don't know, our school is named after Dr. Lunsford, who was a medical doctor, the first African-American medical doctor in our community. So we want to make sure our students know who Dr. Lunsford was, and also they work to embody the same characteristics that he did. So thank you for participating. So we have an agenda for tonight. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about receivership and the purpose of this meeting and what receivership actually is. I don't know what happened. Like it pops. I'm okay with that. And I will give a school presentation. I will share some data and an overview of our school improvement plan as it stands. But again, the purpose of this meeting is to get information from all of you to help us move forward in a swift pace. And lastly, again, to get as much feedback from you around what you think we could do to improve in receivership. So during this presentation, if you have questions, please feel free to jump right in and ask as you see fit. So what is receivership? State law requires that persistently struggling or struggling schools need to make rapid achievement gains. If schools do not meet improvement targets within 1 year or 2 years, hence rapid, the district is required to appoint an outside receiver approved by the state. An appointed receiver will have broad authority to set and manage school improvement plans. The superintendent will act as the receiver first, and that's exactly where we are. And then data for improvement targets will be released soon. So as of right now, we are uncertain as to our targets that we need to meet in order to make the improvement designated by the state. So, Rochester Receivership Schools. There are 5 schools that are going to be removed from receivership as of June 30th, 2019. And those schools are listed there, number 3, 8, 9, 17, and 45. And school 19 will be one as well. And cohort 1, there are 2 schools that are remaining in receivership, and they're listed there. And we are cohort 2. We are amongst the new schools that are in receivership. We are one of 10 schools currently in receivership. So there's a timeline that we also must follow in receivership. So by February 18, 2019, receivership schools must have communicated the school status, and that has been done. I've sent robocalls, there's been flyers, there was a parent letter and a community letter, and also through social media. Establish a school community engagement team. We had our first meeting tonight. If you're on that team, please raise your hand. Thank you so much for participating. So we do have a team. And lastly, conduct a public hearing gathering feedback from the community. And that's what we're here working on now. So we are right on track. So the purpose of this hearing, again, is for me to share our current school status and improvement plan, to also meet with the community engagement team and gather some feedback, and then with that, we'll be able to come together and create a receivership plan to move us forward. So, current status of our school. So, our overview for our school is currently we're serving about 390 students in grades pre-K through 8. Thank you. We are implementing restorative practices, and currently we are a CSI receivership school. Our student population, currently we have 27.9% students with disabilities. We have 94.2 students in poverty, and we have 5.4 students that are English language learners. When you look at gender and race, we have more males than females. We have 52.6 males and 47.4 females. African Americans, 76.9, Hispanic and Latino, 16.4, white, 4.6, and Asian other, 2.1. So now we're going to take a minute to look at our student achievement. And as we look at these numbers, I want you to know that these numbers represent students. They represent teachers, families, and communities, all of which are working extremely hard. So although these numbers do not represent all of the hard work that's going into them, please know that hard work is definitely occurring. So currently, as of last school year, which was 17-18, we had 2.9% of our students proficient in ELA in grades 3 through 8. In the same year, 17-18, we had 6.1% of our students proficient in math grades 3 through 8. So again, those numbers were really hard to look at. At the same time, if we take a deeper dive, they make sense and they truly show the growth that our students, teachers, families, community members are exhibiting. So I've highlighted a cohort, and that means a grade level that I've chosen to follow over the course of 2 years. And I apologize that the numbers are small, but I'm going to read them for you. So I've highlighted grade 3, and that's going to be right here. So let me first explain the levels. New York State assigns levels to students when they take their exams. They can earn a 1, 2, 3, or 4, and each level comes with a different point. So a level 1 earns 0. A level 2 earns 1 point. A level 3 earns 2 points. And a level 4 earns 2.5 points. So if you look at our level 1s for 3rd grade in the year 16-17, it was about 65%. And the whole goal, the whole purpose, the way we're going to move our school forward quickly is to move those students out of level 1s, earning 0 points, to levels 2s, 3s, and 4s. So if you start by looking at 3rd grade, they started at 65.7%, but when they were in 4th grade, they closed that gap by about 20 percentage points, coming in at 42.5 in terms of level 1s. So we moved a significant number of students from level 1s to level 2s. And if you look at the same 3rd graders, when they were in 3rd grade, they were at, I believe that's 32. And then we increased, which is a good thing in this case, up to 52. Because now we have more students scoring in level 2, which we earn points for. And that same pattern continues. Level 3s, 2.9, and they went up to 5. And level 4 stayed constant at 0%. Then when you look at our level 2 through 4s, or our partially proficient rate, we started out with about 34% when they were in 3rd grade. And that went up to 57% when they were in 4th grade, which is huge, which means they made huge gains. And then if you look at our proficiency rate, which is right there at 2.9% when they were in 3rd grade, it actually increased to 5% in 4th grade. And that's understanding that the test is definitely getting harder, the curriculum is also increasing. And what should also be noted, that these students participated in the CCTM model, which is our instructional model, the collaborative co-teaching model. And in this model, there's about 38 to 42 students and 4 adults, 2 general education teachers, a special education teacher, either a reading intervention teacher or a TA. And in this model, they receive small group differentiated instruction, meaning they receive instruction right where they are. So this has really made an impact on the amount of growth that this particular cohort was able to make. So looking at math, this time I just want to highlight the growth that occurred overall in our building. Oops, sorry. So if you look here, in the year 15-16, overall proficiency, we had 1.2%. That increased in 16-17 to 3.9, and it continued to increase last year to 6.1. So although that's hard to watch, we do have some areas to celebrate. So here we go with the good stuff. Science, fourth grade science. In 17-18, which was last year, we had 86% passing science, which is awesome. And that's up from 49% the previous year. 8th grade, we also saw improvement, up to 3% passing, and the previous year, they had 0%. And then combined for science in the building, we had 48% passing, up from 29%. And it should also be noted that the students in 4th grade had the benefit of the model. So they were in that model, that collaborative co-teaching model, and they also looped with their teachers as well, which is part of the model. So attendance, moving forward in receivership, chronic absenteeism is definitely going to be an indicator. So here it shows a growth of about 2% from our average daily attendance rate from last year to this year. We want to make sure that all of our students are here and on time. It really, really matters with their instruction, and it also matters in terms of us making our indicators. So we want to continue to make that growth. And the area that brings me the most joy is our incidences and suspensions. I'm going to give you a moment to look at that data, and if you want to turn and talk about what you see, that would be fantastic. Anyone want to share something that they noticed about this data? Or even something maybe you wonder about this data?
We're keeping our students. They're not going to alternative programs.
Oh, excellent. Our students are staying with us. They are not leaving our building, going to alternative programs. Excellent. So we have 0 currently in alternative programs for this school year. Anything else you're noticing?
You have 0 long-term suspensions.
Yes,
so far.
we have 0 long-term suspensions so far for this year. Last year we had 8. This year we haven't even had a conversation about how it might be appropriate for a student. A huge gain. What do you think about this number here for total suspensions for this school year versus what it was last year?
Looking on track to have a lower number, being we're halfway through the year, so if we can maybe double that, still should be lower.
Absolutely. So good point. So right now, this number represents exactly where we are as of today. So we're more than halfway through the year. The number here, the 305, represents the total number of suspensions for last year. So even if you double the 64, you'll come out around 120, 130. So even worst case scenario, if we double, we still have made huge gains.
And just real quick, with that last number there, the month of September and October were our 2 highest months of suspensions. Since then, the last 3 months have been significantly lower. So if we trend how we've been over the past 3 months, then we're not even going to touch that first part of the year. It'll be significantly lower than that number. That's probably so.
Thank you for sharing that. So I also just want to encourage you to start thinking, if you're not already, what can we do to continue this current pattern? We're already using restorative practices, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what other things could we do to continue this positive pattern? Any other? So next what we're going to do is look at our school improvement plan as it currently exists. Again, remember the purpose of this meeting is to get feedback as to what can we incorporate into the plan to strengthen it. So right now we have 3 key priorities in our 6-7 grant. And 6 stands for School Improvement Grant. So right now we're focusing on that instructional model, we're focusing on restorative practices, and we're focusing on community engagement. So when we instructional model, it's the collaborative co-teaching model, CCTM. And again, that emphasizes that small group differentiated instruction that occurs within the classroom. And teachers work in teams of 4 with their students. So if you were to take a walk around our building, you would see extremely large and open classrooms because 2 sections of a grade level functions as 1 complete classroom. And this model has been very effective in terms of looking at the data for 3rd grade cohort alone. Something else that we're working on in our SIG, restorative practices. We are currently working on community building circles, and each student participates in something called family group. So every morning they meet and they circle in a community circle to build community and positive relationships with one adult within our school building. We also have restorative circles that are used to repair harm. And lastly, family and community engagement. So right now we are working on community events with voice and choice from parents and families in our school community. And we're also working on implementing key components of community schools. So what I'm going to ask for you to do is to provide feedback on how we can further improve what's going on in our school. So I'm going to break you up into groups, and I'll just tell you what the criteria is for the activity, and then we'll get started. So if you could please start at your current table, so whatever table that you're at, if you can please stay there for the first rotation. We're going to encourage you to provide feedback at each station, and if you look around the room, the 3 priorities are up on both sides of our cafeteria. You will have about 10 minutes to provide feedback at each of the key priority areas. And at that area, a member of the CET team will be there to scribe for you and to answer any questions you may have. Remember, every idea counts and matters. So please, please, please take the time to provide us with some feedback. Are there any questions you have before you start the first rotation? Okay, so at this time, members of the CET team will begin to gather their items so that they can scribe for you, and we will begin our first round.
Just real quick, at the end of your table, there's a colored Post-it note. That's the key that you'll go to first, and then we'll kind of do a rotation. So you go to that Post-it note first, and that key, and I'll just go there.
And I probably should show you this, sorry. So for collaborative co-teaching model, you're gonna have Carla Carey. Carla, raise your hand, please. And Beth Cross. And then for the social emotional restorative practices, you'll have John DeFazio and Margaret Donnellan. And then for family and community engagement, you'll have Carla Romero and Alicia Bell. And then members from the CET team, if you would like to join in and help facilitate, please feel free to join in as well. Thanks. Our first round will start now.